Hi there, and welcome to First in Fiction, your first stop for learning to write fantastic fiction. I am your facilitator moderator, Molly Jo Realy, of the upcoming romantic mystery novel Nola. And tonight with us, we have Aaron Gansky, co-host. Aaron, take it away.
Hey, I'm Aaron. I write books and novels and things like that. I write stories, I write poems, articles, uh, I write gibberish, a little
You
bit of
speak
everything.
gibberish pretty good, too.
I do.
So, you recently had a book, yes? A book launch.
Some time ago now, yeah, a couple of months back, but the third book of
Mhm.
my Hand of Adonai series just came out, so I'm pretty excited about that.
As are we. That's very exciting. So Tessa's not with us. Sorry, go ahead. You were going
No,
to say something.
I was going to do it, but you're doing an excellent job, so I'm going to let you do it.
Thank you. Tessa's not with us. She's a little bit under the weather for a few podcasts. We are really thrilled to have with us guest co-host Tina Yeager. Tina, tell us a little bit about yourself, what it is you do.
I am an author and speaker and life coach, and I'm licensed as a mental health counselor. So that's why I'm here to talk about stress and discouragement. I also have experienced it as a writer. I do have a book coming out, might be out by the time the podcast airs. It's called Beautiful Warrior, Finding Victory Over the Lies Formed Against You with New Hope Publishers. I'm really excited about it. It's about overcoming shame and finding your significance and purpose through faith.
I'm really excited for that. Now, you had previously indicated, Tina, that was geared toward women. Is that also a book that men would want to read or share in?
Of course they could read it. It is really geared toward women and becoming sister warriors in Christ. So they can read it, but just don't expect it to be talking about men specifically. So
works for me. Sorry, Aaron.
No,
You
it's
can
fine.
Naomi.
Yeah, no, well, speaking as a man, which I do occasionally, uh, we also suffer from discouragement and stress. We may act differently and react differently, but I think it's going to be really relevant. I'm excited about this topic that we're doing this week, how to overcome discouragement and stress. Excited about your book also coming out. Haven't shared with our listeners how we came to know each other, but I met Tina at Blue Ridge, and she pitched one of her books to me. It's still one of the best pitches I've ever heard. She brought me chocolate-covered coffee beans.
Oh, you're the
It
one.
was amazing, yeah. But
Oh,
but
he keeps talking about that.
but I was even more impressed with her writing. So very, very gifted writer, very clean, very insightful, and so really pleased that you could join us for these podcasts.
mm-hmm. Thank you. It's exciting to be here because I've loved listening to the show, and it's been really fun to be able to join you as a co-host.
I'm very excited for that. So, few housekeeping rules before we get started in tonight's podcast. I shouldn't say rules, I should say guides. So, follow us, please, on YouTube. Not just click in when you think there's a new podcast, but actually subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up on each episode, because that is the equivalent of a great review on Amazon and Goodreads. It's going to help us get more notoriety in a good way. We want you to share this. We want you to comment, leave us comments, leave us questions, topic suggestions, anything that's going to help facilitate us become a better podcaster, because we are all in this for you, our listeners and our viewers. Aaron, did I miss anything on that?
I don't know. I fell asleep.
And we're on, wow. So we're going to ignore him because he's the guy in the group, and this obviously doesn't pertain to him. We are also on Facebook and Twitter at First in Fiction Podcast. Look us up, join the group, join the tweeter, and we will keep you informed as to all our upcoming episodes. And just, it makes me feel better about when I'm on social media that it's, kind of for business and not just for playing Candy Crush, which I happen to be on a really high level of. We're not going to talk about. So moving on, how to overcome discouragement and or stress. Tina, you said that this was a topic that you chose because this is geared more toward the writer, and this is not about developing characters.
Correct.
I'm laughing only because, girlfriend, where have you been for the last 7 years while I was writing my book? And how many times, Aaron, did I text you and say, that's it, I quit, I'm done?
So, I think we all feel that way, don't we? When we're writing, we get those places.
I've been there. I think every time, Molly, you send me that, I'm like, okay, you quit today, I'll quit tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we've all been there for sure.
And Aaron, I think I've heard your dad say you can always quit, but you don't stay quit.
Yeah.
That on the show several times.
That's one of my favorite Al's axioms.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay, Tina, how are writers specifically susceptible to discouragement and stress?
We are artists, and art is by nature vulnerable. You're sharing your heart, your emotions in your art, especially when you're using words. You can't miss what you're trying to say. That's an emotive response if you're pouring out words and messages and creating characters or nonfiction. You are telling the story that comes from your heart. And the emotive nature of art lends itself to making us susceptible to experiencing emotion at an extreme level, like despair, anxiety. We worry and we become more susceptible to feeling down because we're emotive people. And we wouldn't be able to be writers if we didn't experience emotion in great depth. And the other thing that makes us susceptible is our job description includes getting rejected. That doesn't help, not at all. But it's part of our job as writers. We have to expect getting rejected. In fact, you know, the old thing, everybody talks about Stephen King nailing all his rejections, and we're supposed to get so many before we can say we're a real writer, right? Mm-hmm. Those aren't easy to swallow for anyone. And I think he's trying to make light of it and make it seem like it's a badge of honor when he gets one. But at first, when you're starting to get those rejections, they're hard. And I don't know what point you get to when it gets easier, but they are tough to swallow because it's rejecting that piece of your heart. It's rejecting your art. So
yeah, nobody likes to be told they're not good enough. And when I was an editor and actively acquiring for the Citron Review, one of the reasons I actually started the journal, and one of the reasons I did so is because I wanted to send out acceptance letters because I wanted to share in the joy that they brought. And I had to write rejection letters, and I hated doing it. That was the worst part of the job. Even though it's an accepted part, it is still the worst part. It does suck to write them just as much as it sucks to get them. And so I would also kind of piggyback on that in the same way that actors have to kind of go to these dark places when they're playing characters that are in conflict. We're writing about characters in conflict, and we have to kind of go to these dark places that our characters have experienced. We talked about that last time. And that takes a toll on us. That can take an emotional toll because we go through our day and we are bombarded with emotional stimuli, and then we go to do writing and we're bombarded with emotional stimuli, and we're constantly having to go back to this well of high tension and conflict, whether it's interpersonal or extrapersonal. I don't think that's a word, external. It can be challenging to kind of have to live in those places. And so when stress and discouragement come along, I think we tend to feel it a little more deeply, and perhaps even hold on to it a little more deeply than we should.
I have a poll for the two of you guys right now then. Do you think that we are creative because we are more emotive, we're more in tune with emotions than non-creative people? Or do you think that it's the flip side? Like, do we feel more emotion because we're creative, or are we creative because we feel more emotion? Which is the chicken, which is the egg?
I'm going to go outside the box on that and say everybody's creative, but not everybody has words as their form of creativity. And not everyone knows that they're creative, because that's how human beings are designed. It's part of our survival instinct. So I think we all are creative and we all have emotions. Does that answer your question in a I'm not answering your question kind of a way?
That one, yeah.
Next time on First in Politics.
That was almost like you could be a politician with that. Yeah. No, but I do understand what you're saying, Aaron.
That gives me a sense of discouragement and stress right now.
What I meant to say was you were very creative in your non-creative answer, Tina.
I would agree with that. I mean, if we're
That she was
painters,
creative? Of course you better
yes,
agree with that.
I do agree with that, but I agree with her answer completely. And if we're painters, emotions are the paint that we use to kind of, fill the canvas. And so because that's our trade, because we use words and words by nature are abstract, without any sort of emotional attachment, we kind of have to charge them with that emotional attachment and string them together in such a way that it conveys what we're trying to convey. And you can do that without feeling the emotions. It just seems to be a lot easier and a lot more effective and a lot more efficient when we do. And so I would kind of agree with Tina. I don't know that it's necessarily a chicken or an egg thing. It just seems to be that is our art. That is our art.
Mm. And obviously, discouragement and stress could affect anyone, whether you're a writer or not. We just feel it in a different way and in a particularly harsh and intense way because we are writers. And one thing that doesn't help us is that we write in isolation. And many writers are introverts and they think they like that. But there's only a certain degree to which we can deal with isolation and be healthy emotionally and mentally. That's why they use isolation as a form of torture, because it is against human nature to be healthy and be isolated. So that can work against us when it comes to having a depressed mood or discouragement or stress. And then we get people that don't understand us. So even when we're around people who aren't writers, they don't understand us. Have you ever met the people that say, I'm going to retire and go write a book in a cabin in 2 days? Great. So I've spent 15 years working at this trade, but you're going to do it in a weekend. Glad you respect what I'm doing.
Right. Let me know how that works out for you. Yeah.
I think I'm going to be a neurosurgeon when I retire. I'm just going to go take a weekend workshop, and then I'm going to pick you, and you're going to be my first test. How about that?
Okay.
That is fantastic. I love it. I love the way that
Isn't that great?
Well, I think you're right.
We need to find a way to clip that for a little sound bite.
Yeah, we definitely have to. That's going to be like the quote that gets blown up. I'll just learn neurosurgery over the weekend. But you know what? People do that. They treat it that way, and or they treat our art as not being important or significant. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're a writer. That's cute. It's not a job. It's a hobby. And it seems, it's demeaning and it's offensive, for those of us who choose this as a career field. It seems to be, it's really, condescending, and, we try and handle it graciously. But there does seem to be that perception. And Molly, poor Molly has to hear me when I'm not on camera and when I don't have to monitor what I say.
At you. I mean, you hear the same from me.
And we've got several different viewpoints on people who try and market to this idea that writing is easy, and it's not. And anybody who believes that writing is easy is probably not doing it properly. So, that can take a toll.
I'm thrown back, Erin, if you'll remember, this was more when I was talking with your wife, Naomi, about it. But about 5 years ago, I was dating a guy that I'd known forever. And at one point he said, about the writing thing. Mm-hmm. And our relationship was already on rocky ground. And I told Naomi about that. And she was like, well, you're not still seeing him, are you? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And like she said, that was like a little dismissive pat on the head. Because I'll support you if that's really what you think you want to do. But, and I'm like, there is no but. I am a writer. There is no delineation between whether I do this for a career or for fun or whatever. I don't tell you, oh, gee, why don't you go swing one golf ball and we'll say you played golf all day. You're going to go golf, you're going to golf, whether you're good at it or not. And I'm trying to be a writer, whether I'm good at it or not. Support me. Don't be like, about the writing thing. It's like, okay, about the aging thing. I'll stay with you while you continue to grow old. Maybe. I'm like, no. And Naomi was like, it was just hilarious. She's like, well, you're not still seeing him. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
So many of us take that because our internal thoughts are so negative already that we are doubting ourselves. Why don't I just get a real job? How many of you out there have said, I should just quit and get a real job?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've heard those words, real job, so many times.
Right.
Writing isn't really valuable. Whether you're paid for it or not, we're called to it. And that's why we do it. We're created for it, we're called to it, and we need to own who we are and what we're meant for.
Exactly.
I think that creates another tension with us. The reason that we have stress and doubt and all that kind of wonderful nonsense is because it is trivialized by people, number one. Number two, if you're struggling at it, if your books are not getting published, if you're getting those rejections, then you feel like you're not good at it. And you feel like, oh, I'm wasting my time doing this. And that, if we are trying to derive our sense of self-worth from somebody else telling us what we're doing is good, then that can be problematic because, my books are out there. My books aren't selling. That's disappointing. And it's it weighs on me that I think I'm a good writer, but nobody's buying my book. So what does that say about me? I've put countless hours into this. My family has supported me through this. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. And those types of thoughts are beyond common. They're daily, they're hourly, and it's challenging to do that. So to deal with that. So I guess my question for you, Tina, is how do we get beyond that? If we're in that kind of low place, we're stressed, we're anxious, we're feeling like giving up, how do we get out of that low place?
Well, first we have to physically move. In order to change our mindset, you have to get out of where you are physically. So if you're in front of the computer, if you're sitting in a low place, you need to get up and move and change, because the human soul is in a body and the soul doesn't move till the body moves. So you're going to have to get up and change physically to change your perspective, and behaviorally do something different. If you're having trouble writing and getting something on paper, go out and do something else that'll give you a creative boost. Go to a museum, go to an art gallery, go play with some pottery, go do something that's going to make creativity more enjoyable and give you that sense of wonder again, and reboot your mind. Go out in nature, do something that's going to lift you up. We need to get a certain amount of natural light on our skin in order for our mood to go back up. So if you're stuck in your little writing cave forever, it may be time for you to get out and get some fresh air in order to change your perspective and elevate your mood, just physically speaking. And you need to get around some life-giving people. It's time to stop surrounding ourselves with people who don't get us. Make sure you're in writers groups. Make sure you're in groups of healthy, energizing, encouraging people. They don't all have to be writers, but people that are going to speak life into you are going to help you with your art and help you keep going when it's tough to keep going. Get those people in your life. We need them. And we need to drink gallons of truth to flush out those shame lies. We get them all the time, and you have to drink in twice as many, 3 times as many, maybe 5 times as many, they say, positive thoughts to flush out one negative. So that's a lot of encouragement. Read inspiration every day. We should be reading anyway because we're writers, but don't just read dark because you're writing dark. Read some happy and inspiring and encouraging stuff too. If you dwell too much in the dark, you're going to feel dark. So even if that's what you write, and I've written horror before, it's okay to write horror, but if you're in that dark place too long, it gets really dark. Trust me, it gets really, really dark in there. So get some inspiration going too.
I'm so glad you said that, Tina, because I mean, all of that I agree with wholeheartedly. And again, it part of this, I don't know, Erin, it kind of feels like she eavesdropped on some of our conversations over the last few years. The part about if you write dark, it's okay to write dark. Just don't stay in the dark. It's so true, because I like writing dark. But I have found that as soon as I'm done with like 2 chapters, I need to turn on the Hallmark Channel for even half an hour. And then it's hard to get back into the dark, but I'm okay with that. I would rather do it in spurts than to spend a whole week just delving into this dark, dark place. And when I know that I have a really tough scene to do, I will make sure that I have like a recovery method in place. So as soon as I'm done writing this horrible scene that I know is coming up, I'm talking to people ahead of time and like, okay, I'm going to make a phone call with my daughter at 10 p.m. So I have to stop writing at 9:45 no matter what. And then just, talk about the dog, talk about her day, good things, and bring that in. I think that's so important of what you were saying. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I agree. I tend to write dark as well, but I mean, that's conflict, right? But darkness is only dark if we can compare it to the light. And so I've really been trying to, just from a fiction standpoint, if you've got characters who are in a dark place, if it's just hopeless and there's no joy, there's nothing, that's not fun or enjoyable to read. That's just becomes oppressive, and you can lose your audience. And so one of the ways that even horror works is by providing a light, providing some sort of hope. We can overcome this monster. We can overcome this darkness. We can defeat Sauron. We can, restore the Shire, blah, 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 whatever. That hope is what keeps people reading. And the minute it is extinguished, there is no point to reading further. And so I guess I would say if you're in that dark place, we need to find where that light is. What is that light? What is it that keeps us going? And find that and pursue that. And like you say, if we have to get away from the writing for a minute to do that, then do that. Let's go get some of that natural sunlight. Let's go for a walk. Let's go to the museum. Let's go see a movie. Let's do something that's going to take our minds away from some of these darker places, I suppose. So,
I think encouraging other people sometimes helps us pull out of discouragement. Yes. So what you give, if you've drawn in some encouragement and drawn in some inspiration first, obviously you have to drink in what you're going to give out. But once you start giving out, somehow you don't give until you're empty if you're drinking and giving. Keeping that flowing through you is going to help keep you from getting discouraged and staying discouraged.
Yeah. I would be curious, though, and this is the next point on the show notes, so I'm totally, grabbing Molly's glory here and moving us along. But how do we...
Wait, I know what you're going to say. Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering how we might maintain our own well-being as writers. So rather than kind of getting to that dark place, how can we make sure that we don't get to that dark place?
Every calendar needs to have margin. Guard your margin. Make sure you don't fill up every moment in your day until there's no white space. So you might even need to schedule your white space. That would be like meditation time to just rest, time to reboot your brain, time to just go and sit and relax. We need that as writers. We need to be able to daydream anyway. That's part of our job. If we're not doing that, then we're not going to be able to keep writing, and that is discouraging. So make sure that you are guarding that margin, making an appointment for yourself on your calendar if you have to, and tell people, get out, mom's in the bathroom, or get out, do something to make sure that you have guarded that space so that you can stay healthy. We also need to maintain community, resist the urge to isolate and be a hermit. I know that there are writers who think that that's most comfortable, but it's not going to help you stay healthy. So, and practicing healthy self-care, please don't say, I will sleep when I'm dead. I don't want you to be dead, because your body will listen to you if you say things like that, and it will make sure that you stop if you don't take time to stop. You'll end up sick. I know a lot of my friends that are working really, really hard or working too hard, and they end up sick. And the body makes you stop if you don't stop when you should. And nourish your brain with things like omega-3s and all kinds of wonderful brain healthy things, which I'm not going to list them all for sake of time, but there are a lot of really great things that you can do to feed your brain and keep your mental state balanced, because your brain is healthy. And exercise, believe it or not, exercise is important. That walk out in nature is good enough. You don't have to go out and be Mr. or Mrs. Universe, but just a little exercise to boost your serotonin will help you respond better to stress. Everybody knows that it relieves stress, but what few people know is it helps you respond better to the next time you experience stress. So it can help you avoid getting stressed out if you're exercising at least a little bit regularly. And breathe deep. We often tend to breathe shallow. Breathing deeply oxygenates your bloodstream and your brain. So if you breathe deeply, it will relax your muscles. That'll help relieve stress in a really, really healthy way. It's much easier than taking drugs and has less side effects. Just breathe.
So, nice.
And laughter, which you guys do so very well on your show.
We try.
It's great medicine. It's a great anti-anxiety medicine. I've had clients that were on Xanax that were able to wean off of Xanax by including laughter. So if you're stressed and anxious and discouraged and you want to boost your serotonin and dopamine without side effects, find some ways to really have a good belly laugh on a regular basis.
There you go. Comedy. That's prescribing Jim Gaffigan. So.
I was just going to say, surround yourself with people who know how to make you laugh. Because just by being around people with a good sense of humor, it might not be your own sense of humor, you know, and there are, well, I'm going to say it. There are stupid things that Aaron does when he knows that I'm in that depressed mode, that he will do stupid things just to make me laugh. And it's worked. It's helped completely. And we were in Target many, many years ago, and I still remember this. We were all shopping at Target, and I had a very bad week, and he full on ran right into one of those poles with the customer service phone line. He just whacked right into the pole. People are stopping and looking at him like, what is going on? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. So he does it again. and yeah, it made me laugh. And I was like, okay, that's one of the stupidest things anybody's done for me in a while, but it was really sweet. And it did make me laugh. And, you know, I got home later and I'm putting away the groceries. I'm like, you know, I do feel a little better now. So, you know, anytime you want to walk into polls for people, Aaron, it's very well received.
No, that's what I do. That is my major contribution to humanity, is apparently walking into poles and walls. So
and I just post fat photos of my cats. You know, that's my contribution to laughing society.
Well, we all need to know what we're contributing, and that's important because it's easy to get in that place of, why am I doing this? If you don't know why you're really doing this, it better not be about how many books you sell. It better not be about how famous you are. Because if you're in it for the money or the fame, you're out of luck. You're in the wrong profession if you're a writer. That is not a good motivator. You need to have some kind of more altruistic and lasting sense of a why. One thing Michael Hyatt, and he's great. If you've never looked him up, look him up. He's really good on platform and all kinds of things publishing. People lose their way when they lose their why. So if we get distracted from our real why, I want to deliver fantastic fiction with depth for readers. If I can reach 1 reader, 2 readers, 10 readers, if I can produce this work of art and get it into the market, that is why I'm doing this. I'm not doing it to hit 10,000 book sales. That's a great goal, but if that's the only reason you're doing this, then that is not going to be a lasting and sustainable why. You need to have a why that can outlast your life.
Yeah. That's very well said. Very well said. Well, look at us up against the clock again. We like to take it right down to the wire. So really good stuff. Very, very relevant, very timely. So Tina, thank you for joining us and giving us some really good advice on taking care of ourselves and being able to navigate through some of these dark places. So next week, we're going to be looking at writer's block, specifically how to get through it, how to smash through it. So thank you for joining us this week. We're looking forward to having you guys back next time. So until then.
Aaron.
Yes.
How can they find us?
Oh my goodness, I forgot that. I'm at aarongansky.com. You're at mollyjoreally.com. Or Frankly, My Dear Mojo, where are we at?
Frankly, My Dear is my blog. mollyjoreally.com is my everything else.
And Tina? Where do our readers find you?
TinaYeager.com.
See, we like to keep it easy. So just take our names, throw a .com.
Or you can get encouragement if you're a writer at inspirationsonline.com, which is a devotional by writers for writers to keep you encouraged.
Can you say that one more time?
Inspirations, I-N-K. It's kind of a play on inspiration. Well, Inspirations Online. Make sure you put the online in there because otherwise you'll get a tattoo artist, and we don't do tattoos. So, inspirationsonline.com, and that will get you weekly inspirations, weekly devotionals for writers. and you can submit too if you'd like to write one.
Awesome. Very cool. I'll have to check that out. Thank you so much. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, good writing.